Fulfilling.
Discovery.
Wild.
Freedom. It's like your brain does the shift where it realizes that it has to find a way to balance working and going outside, meeting people, trying new things, trying new foods, just actually participating in the life like that you see around.
Being free to go wherever, whenever I want, whether it's to see friends, family, go surfing, to an epic nomad community that I've heard about, climb a mountain, whatever. Like that freedom for me is what it's all about.
I like about this community that it's new. I like that it's fairly new, that it's still like, there's still so much to discover here. This is, I think definitely like everyone knows after COVID, like it just, like it blew up. But I know this community has been here, like as a digital nomad, it's been here for, I think like the last 10 years, definitely. I think it founded in like 2003, the first co-working space or whatever, but I think where it definitely came up like is like, I think 10 years ago. And you meet so many, like so many great people. Like you should, like the stories that I've heard is like, first of all, it inspires you. It makes you stop floating and makes you put your feet on the ground. Like it grounds you of like, you know, the mental struggle that people go through, but also like the challenges, but also like the awesome things that some people do. Like, wow, like there's a lot of cool people out there, you know, like you realize like, yeah, this is just a lot of awesome, interesting people.
I can't envision myself working in an office for 9 to 5. I like being able to travel, to move around, to visit my friends in different places. So I think that's one of the biggest advantages of the remote work life for me, is that I can go spend time with people that I've made connections with in the past, and then also explore new places. Like San Cristobal, I've always wanted to come here. So then having the ability to, you know, be able to work and support myself and visit new places and see my friends as well is just kind of a good work-life balance for me.
Someone who works online and travels. That's for me a digital nomad. This can be fast travel or slow travel, whatever their job is. Like this can be anything. The first time I've heard of digital nomads, it's like, man, like you have to be a software engineer, you have to be like a marketing person. These are the most common ones, right? But you can basically do anything and be a digital nomad.
People who were working for companies before, I noticed were very tech related. Now there are more employees who are kind of doing everything. So, I mean, I work in education, and I don't run into a lot of people who are doing that, but I do run into people who are just, you know, have a project management job or have an administrative job at a company, and they're able to do it fully remotely, and their company is okay with them traveling. So you do tend to see a few more employees than I probably had seen in the past. You'll find people who are quite young who are starting their own businesses. You'll find, you know, people who are much older who have kind of a stable job and who have been working online for a long time, and kind of everywhere in between.
I'm a lawyer, but sometimes I dabble in other professions as my curiosity leads me. But yeah, today I earn my paycheck as a lawyer.
Yeah, I've even met a doctor who's a digital nomad. He was like 35 and he was just a consultant. So like he was just like, I don't know how he did it, but like he did it. He was like, yeah, I'm a doctor. I even met someone who was a volunteer with us and wanted to be a digital nomad. And he just learned AI. Like he just spent 8 hours learning AI for 6 months, but like really die hard and really respect for him. And after 6 months, and I talked to him and he was making like $2,000 a month after 6 months. So like, it doesn't take that long. And that was definitely, yeah, that was definitely super cool. Like, yeah, everyone can, like, that was just for me, like, the answer, like, everyone can be a digital nomad.
Yes, I knew that I didn't want to be an engineer, that I wanted to make music, that I wanted to travel. and be free. So I was like I just didn't want to be an engineer anymore, like at all. So I was like, I need to figure out a way to make money and not be stuck in an office, and I could travel. So I started learning copywriting, and I basically did that. I'm doing that freelance now, and I guess I could say I'm a small business because I actually have a designer working under me now. So yeah, that's what I do, and that's how I make money.
I was looking for a job, and actually this interview told me that the job was remote, and I was not looking for it, so I kind of just came to me. And it was a big step to choose because I had also another offer that was a permanent job in Paris, very settled, very secure. It felt very risky to choose the digital nomad way because no fixed salary, and also like, I don't know, regarding the society, you have a certain status that is a bit more, I don't know, in the air than having a permanent contract. So it felt very stressful at the beginning, and then also meeting people while traveling makes you realize that it's more common than what you can think, and it's also more doable. It's not that it's difficult, but it's just a way of life, another one.
I think we're just living in a more different time than 20 years ago, and I think like people just have this urge of like, hey, I want to see the world and what it is. Some people do it because they need to push themselves out of their comfort zone.
I feel like leaving your hometown or like where you're comfortable with like friends that you've known for a while and things like that really forces you to kind of like level up in like so many ways, and also kind of find like your own routine and like your own systems, because at the end of the day, like if you're traveling and like your environment's changing, the only thing you can really fall back on is like your systems and like your routine, whether that's like going to the gym every morning or like meditating or journaling or something like that. Things that like keep you going and like doing work and like keep you busy. So I do feel like it forces you to level up, and it forces you to form new communities, either whether that's the people you're meeting that are like have similar goals, because sometimes you're living around people that, I mean, you might love them, they're your best friends, but they just have different goals, and sometimes that can hold you back in a way. I mean, you know how they say that you're like the average of like the 5 people you spend the most time with, so it's like, who are you spending your time around, and are they moving in the same direction that you want to go? And if not, then that might actually be hurting you more than you think.
Some people like it for connection too, and places like, for a digital nomad, places like that really encourage us to talk to each other, because the community of digital nomad is still so small. I know there's like more than 30 million around the world, but on the world map, like 30 million seems like a lot, but actually we have like what, 8 billion now, like it's not that much. So every time you meet someone as a digital nomad, you're like instantly connected with each other. It's like the same thing as if you have a motorbike and you see another motorbike, you do like, hey, you know, you don't know the guy, but it's like you still say hey. And I think it's the same thing with digital nomad. Like it's so much easier just to connect with each other because you feel like you're in the same life.
I get more work done if I'm surrounded by people who are also working online.
Yeah, same family. And yeah, I think that's definitely like, yeah, and just like excitement, adventure, I think.
Besides that, I love surfing, I love climbing. Like, I would say I feel most myself when I'm out there on some sort of adventure, risking my life. A little bit, maybe. Yeah, I have, you know, feel like that's part of my identity, like exploring and adventuring and trying new things, and well, a little bit of risk. It's definitely part of the excitement.
Some people just like, yeah, like I wanna do something exciting, and maybe where they're from, like, you know, the grass is always greener on the other side, and I think some people realize that actually their home country was awesome and they loved it and they want to go back, and some people just realize like, hey, no, like fuck, there's a whole world, and I can do this while not even saving. I don't have to save 3 years of money and just travel 6 months and like lose it all. No, I can do this like actually for 10 years and see different cultures, meet different people, do different adventures, like see awesome things that you don't have back home.
and I was only spending like $400 on rent in Colombia, and everything else was like so cheap. Like the gym was like $30 a month for CrossFit, which is like insane. In Austin, it's like at least like $200 or something. In Colombia, it's like, dude, I could just eat out every single day and it doesn't even matter. Like, I'm like spending $5 for like a giant, like a full 3-course meal, like really quality food.
You don't have time to be bored. Like, you can move whenever you want, whenever you feel to, and also meeting new people and inspirational people all the time. It's very refreshing and it gives a ton of new ideas every time. So I like it. It feels like the mind is always stimulated. But to be honest, for me, I struggle a little bit with having activities and nomad life because I feel like a lot of my energy is about adaptation because I'm moving very quickly. Personally, I just crave this feeling of having already relationship that are already built and to just go deeper into this, you know, like to make them move forward instead of just meeting those people like 2-3 times a year.
Vamos a conocernos. Wow.
Definitely to any digital nomad, I would say like, just stay longer in one place. Like even 1 month or 2 months, like just stay longer in one place because traveling every 2 weeks is just really not sustainable if you want to do this for like a year or 2 years. Like just stay longer in one place and have those deeper connections and trust the other people like that you meet. Just like, yeah, be open about it, you know, and then talk about it because everyone is going through the same things.
It's definitely not a super easy or comfortable lifestyle most of the time. But yeah, in general, I would say actually the last few years, the biggest issue has been really having a community around me and not just people you meet and then that's it, the next day they go off again, but real connections, you know, people you really connect with, you really relate with, you ideally lifelong friends. I've met a lot throughout the last 4 years, people I will always stay in touch with and meet up again in different parts of the world. And that's really what you kind of need, actually. It's not just something, it's not a nice to have, it's a must after a certain amount of time because, yeah, loneliness is real, you know. It's a real thing.
I would say the biggest challenge is always trying to start over in a new place, especially when I'm leaving a place that I've made really good connections at. So usually if I leave a place where I've been for, you know, 6 months or longer, made a really good friend group, and then I have to leave, and usually it's just due to visa issues or kind of timing issues, and then you end up in a new place and it very much feels like you're starting over again. And that can be a kind of a bit of a challenge at times, just kind of mentally taxing. You know, you've already made a good friend group and then you kind of start from zero and you have to repeat the process over and over again.
Yeah, I feel also like being a digital nomad is like kind of a learning process because at the beginning, at least I was feeling very excited about the fact of being able to just move around. So I wanted to do the maximum and so I was going really, really fast. The biggest thing to learn is that being a digital nomad is very different than being on holidays. So now I want to settle like few months in the same place to be able to have a routine and start activities such as regular yoga or regular, I don't know, like having more time for other things like drawing, for example.
So as I said, the first time I came, I was in a hostel and then for the weekend just so I could meet people. Then I went to an Airbnb. It was during a lockdown, so there weren't a lot of people here. So the few of us that were here, we bonded, we saw each other every day, so it felt like a community. Like I didn't really have to work hard to have a community. And also because it was a pandemic, whenever people came, they stayed for longer because there wasn't as much of freedom of movement as there is now. When I came back this time around, I started out in the same hostel that I stayed in the first time, and people were coming and going. It's just every night, like I'll meet someone, I'll connect with them, 2 days later, they're gone. So I almost started experiencing social fatigue. So finally I decided that I should look for a place where like people come and stay, you know, for longer, like not just overnight. So a friend mentioned this place and I came and I took a tour. Basically I came, I stayed those 2 days and I just fell in love because I could see that people here were more or less actually invested in each other's well-being. There were, you know, different activities to help people gather and socialize, and not just, you know, like party activities. Those also exist, but activities where you can just talk to people and learn about them and remember the things you talked about because you're not, you know, drunk out of your mind. So once I kind of understood what they were going for and how they really valued like building relationships that last for more than a night, you know, I was sold. So coming into this co-living space definitely has, you know, improved my experience this time around. My intention this time around was to come for a week, but it's been, what, almost 4 weeks now and I'm still here. So yeah, I don't know how else to describe it, but for me, it's a very magical place.
I think the world is becoming more and more adapted to this slowly. I still think this is like from 0 to 100, we're like at 1, you know, like where you're starting to get some solutions like co-working, co-living and online tools, group chats and whatnot, nomad list. But it's really like the very, very beginning of it. But there's some support system, safety wing, whatever, you know. There are solutions now for nomads to slowly make it easier, but yeah, it's still a blank canvas, which is why I love working in this industry, because it can be super creative, because there's so many problems to be solved, you know.
So like I've heard digital nomad saying like every time 3 days before I leave, like I get anxiety a little bit because like what if the next place it doesn't have good internet, it doesn't have good infrastructure, and I come there, yeah, and I can't work and I have a meeting on Monday. So I hope there's much more places like this here that also focus on co-working and co-living, like co-working spaces, but also on community. That's really my hope, and I just want to tell everyone, like, there's a lot of people who want this. Like, I know there's like 20 good ones that are in Europe and that are here in Central America, and they're like, all of our guests are just like bouncing between each other, like between those 20, because they know what to expect of those 20. They go to Tenerife, not to see Tenerife, no, they just know, there is a really good co-working, co-living space in Tenerife. I'm just gonna go there, and then I'm gonna see what's around in Tenerife. I hope like in the next 5 years that a lot of more places like this will emerge, be constructed, and really focus on that community for the digital nomads.
I think it's incredible how life always surprises you, like in some ways, and it's something that you don't regret, never.
Doing what I'm doing, I feel like life is like a game. I'm like learning new skills so I can make more money. I'm like meeting new people so I can like have new opportunities, and just like, it just feels like a game.
Do you have an advice to give to someone who wants to be nomad?
Honestly, just do it. That's actually my only big sort of takeaway. I almost get emotional when I think about it, but the last 4 years have shaped my life in so many ways. It's incredible. So yeah, it can be scary, uncomfortable, new, you know. Yeah, for sure. But so many things in life are, and really this lifestyle is, yeah, it's insane. And look, I don't think traveling all year round is for everyone. Some people just want to do it a few months a year, and that's totally cool. But working remotely is really beautiful. Getting to live in a country, not just visiting, it's a huge thing, and we're so blessed that we can do that. And yeah, it's beautiful. So just do it.
The first advice what I would say was, you know, get out and try to make as many connections as you can when you're in a new place, and try to do so right away. You're not going to, like I said before, you're not going to make connections just sitting in your Airbnb. You're going to have to go out and put in the work. And at times it can be awkward, at times it can be difficult. But if you push through, it will often be worth it.
Trying to plan it from a different country, I don't think is the best idea, because there's just so much you haven't seen or so much you don't know, and the internet can only do so much for you. So yeah, just take that leap of faith. Find a safe, good hostel, book a few days, and then from there, decide what you want.
Well, I would say you will know if it's good for you if you try. So don't be afraid to try. It's not easy. Sometimes it's work, so it's hard, but it's definitely worth it. I don't think it's easy to try, to be honest. At least for me, it was like I feel like jumping in from a big cliff because you're just leaving behind everything that was so secure and told to you since a very long time. So you're leaving everything behind, so you can feel sometimes you're not doing the right choice because it's not the common choice. But you will feel it if it's meant to be or not. And yeah, it's just so rewarding, and I think the efforts pay actually very quickly.
Just fucking do it. Like, I just have to go, even though it's scary. It's scary at first. You're like, oh, like, how am I gonna make money? Like, what if it doesn't work out? Like, blah, blah, all these things. Like, am I really gonna move, like, to a different country? Like, you hear about things on the news and people are like, really? Why are you going there, dude? Don't people get kidnapped and robbed and, like, blah, blah, blah? And it's like, but they just don't know. That's just all they hear about. So it's like, you can't listen to people that aren't in a position that you want to be in. So you got to tune it all out. Listen to yourself. Listen to people that are doing things you want to do. And just fucking go for it. That's it, baby.